Guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I'm here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And another day, another outrage caused by Twitter, caused by the media.
There's more than one outrage a day.
We've actually
another outrage.
God, it's every hour. So we're going to address this because we had so many people writing us. We're going to talk about Song of the South and the call to change Splash Mountain.
Yeah, I want to change Splash Mountain now.
But before we talk about that, we're going to talk about HBO Max pulling the plug on Gone with the Wind. Now, a lot of people were like, yes, let's get rid of Gone with the Wind. And what is it, 80-year-old movie?
Right. Again, a product of its time.
Product of its time. Regarded as a classic American film, not without its, flaws, obviously, because of the time it was made. I think most people understand that. Most normal people...
Rational people understand that, yes.
Most normal people understand that movies made 80 years ago may not reflect the views of people current year.
Hell, in current year, movies made 2 years ago don't reflect the views of people current year. If we should cancel everything that changes our views on, there's a shit ton of stuff to be canceled. And now anymore, it's every couple years everything changes. So I guess everything from 5 years ago needs to be removed.
Well, they're trying to cancel The Help. That was made in 2011.
Right.
And they're trying to cancel that now because that's a problematic movie. And the thing is, when you cancel films like this, you if you're truly progressive, you can't see the progress that was made if you delete the past.
Well, that's it. If you don't know the past, you're going to repeat the past, and that's the point. And then what's the real tragedy in all this at the end of the day is that some of these people won awards, and they were like groundbreaking actors and actresses for winning awards, and they were people of color, and now that's completely being eliminated because people don't like Twitter's having a fit about it. When I say people don't like, I mean Twitter mostly.
Twitter is not real.
I'm just going to say, they literally represent a very small portion of America, but they're the ones screaming the loudest. And Hollywood, for whatever reason, keeps bowing a knee to Twitter.
Stop it.
It's ridiculous. And now I see both sides of the argument here. I truly do. I get where they're coming from. I get why they're upset. But I also think that just pretending things didn't happen fixes nothing. You just need to use that as an example. Like, this is how it was. This is why we need to do better.
Well, This is what's really interesting, because everybody was like, yes, it's a victory. They pulled down Gone with the Wind. Well, they didn't, because this is Warner we're talking about. And I want to believe that Warner Media has learned a very difficult lesson in the last couple of years, that they've been bending the knee to Twitter, and it's been biting them in the ass. They are bringing it back to HBO Max. They're going to bring it back with a disclaimer. I'm very surprised they haven't done this before, because they do it with older cartoons all the time.
Yeah, I was surprised they didn't either. They know to do that.
I think you guys should know better by now. So apparently they just dumped the movie on HBO Max without the disclaimer. It is coming back. They are going to put a disclaimer on there. So they did not technically bend the knee.
Yeah, it's going to say Gone with the Wind is a product of its time, yes, and depicts some of ethnic and racial prejudices that have, unfortunately, been commonplace in American society. These racist depictions were wrong then and are wrong today, and we felt that keep this title up without an explanation and denouncement of those depictions would be irresponsible.
Right. So this is I believe, personally, this is the proper way to handle it, to be like, yeah, you know what? We're going to own it. We made this movie. It's a product of its time. Here's a disclaimer. Nobody's saying that there weren't stereotypes and racism and all that jazz in this movie, but, to just pretend it didn't happen does a huge disservice to Hattie McDaniel, who was the first African-American to win an Academy Award.
And I believe her birthday's today. I read somewhere. Someone said her birthday is today. I'm not sure if it's true, but they said that. Yeah, it was a big deal. She was the first African-American to win an Oscar. So by eliminating the film, there's collateral damage, and you're actually doing damage to this actress. We're saying how things were right back then? Hell no. That's not what we're saying. But we're saying if you pretend things didn't happen, they're going to happen again. Burying and pretending things didn't happen is changing history that doesn't change history.
Right. So, look, I mean, I can't even believe there was this is what happens when the Twitter mob gets angry. And they look for scalps to take.
They're looking for anything. I'm waiting for such and such candy bar is bad because of this, or that crayons need to change their colors because, how dare they?
Well, they did. They did that a few years ago. They changed
certain languages that call black colors names that are similar to racist names. Those countries need to change their entire language.
So when the mob is outraged, sometimes I think companies overcompensate. Now,
they overcompensate, yes.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about Warner basically saying we're not going to bend the knee. We're going to put a disclaimer. It is what it is. It's everybody knows this movie exists. Not a big deal. Move on to more important things. Splash Mountain.
Now, this one I do see both sides of the argument. I really, truly, honestly do see both sides of this argument. I'm just like...
Well, so
I do see both sides, though.
Let's walk people through this who aren't familiar with the situation. Splash Mountain is not just a ride with funny animals at Walt Disney World and Disneyland.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't know this. They didn't know that it was based on Song of the South. How did you not know this? You're all outraged about something you don't even know about.
The reason they don't know about it is because Disney has gone out of their way to pretend that they never made Song of the South. Song of the South was, of course, based on the Uncle Remus stories, which are in themselves problematic to some people because it was a white guy compiling the stories that he heard as a disenfranchised Irish bastard child. He was treated like a shit because he had red hair. He was a ginger. He was a
which throughout history, redheads have also been treated like shit. But
yeah, Joel Chandler Harris was.
We gotta erase redheads though, because
he was a redhead. He was a redhead bastard child who used to hang out with slaves, and he overheard their stories, and then he compiled them into what became the Uncle Remus stories. As far as I know, there was no actual Uncle Remus. It was just a character that was a combination of all these storytellers he'd heard. So,
well, it might have been. It might have been one of the people he heard the stories from. They called them Uncle Remus or something, for all we know.
Yeah,
it could have been.
No idea. Anyway, Walt Disney comes along. Several years later, wants to make a movie.
They might told him not to do it.
Which he actually was told not to do it. He actually conferred with, I think it was the NAACP, and they said, Walt, and they were actually pretty okay. They were like, hey, yeah, this might not be a real good idea. We get what you're going for, but it might not be a good idea. Walt Disney, being Walt Disney, says, I don't give a shit. I'm Walt effing Disney. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. So he created Song of the South. Now, again, talking about Oscars, James Baskett was the first black male ever to receive an Oscar. He got an honorary Academy Award for his portrayal.
But he wasn't allowed to attend the event.
He wasn't allowed to attend the event. Yes. Again, very sad. This is what it was like back then. The movie itself has not been released in the U.S. in
80s last time? Was it 80s?
In theaters. It was never released on home video as far as I know. It's been a subject of controversy for years. And the thing is, the movie itself has become more controversial, I think, because Disney won't acknowledge it.
Yeah, I think that's true.
And it's one of those things where, and then when you actually see it, and I've actually watched it, and you actually see it, you're like, wait, that's what the big deal was. Like, all this, well, because I'm like, this is one of the most benign movies. Well, that is the problem as I understand it, because it is a Disney-fied version of the South, and people are like, it wasn't.
They kind of made it sound like it was all, peaches and wonderful, and they kind of did.
Well, it's got
do that.
Singing and dancing animals.
So, by making it forbidden, it just makes it
worse.
Yes, it makes it worse. I think it just makes people more upset. There's no win. There's no way to win the situation.
There's no way to win.
There really is just no way to win in this situation. I don't know what the answer is. I'm not going to claim I do, because I don't know what it is, because there's just no win situation here, honestly.
So what's really interesting about all of this, before we get into the current outrage over a 30-plus-year-old ride, okay, which I'm shocked at. Again, this just shows how dumb the general public are.
Yeah, they didn't know. I'm like, how do you not know?
Because Twitter is collectively stupid.
If you're so offended and pissed about Song of the South, and you're all outraged, I get that if you understand what it is, but you don't know what it is, and you didn't even know that the ride was based on it. That's where I'm like, why are you mad then? So that's what I was like,
Yeah, so Whoopi Goldberg, who is pretty progressive, right? The first thing she wanted to do in 2017.
We're talking like 3 years ago.
We're talking 3 years ago. The first thing she wanted to do as a Disney legend was get Disney to release Song of the South with a disclaimer like Warner Media does with Gone with the Wind and cartoons.
Because she basically was like, it happened, we need to talk about it, kind of thing. Isn't that what she was like?
Yeah, hold on a second. Goldberg believes it's time the film was made available again to American audiences in its entirety. Right now, they only release the singing and dancing animals. I'm trying to find a way to get people to start having conversations about bringing Song of the South back, so we can talk about what it was, where it came from, and why it came out.
Right, exactly. Because when you understand why this stuff happened, you can move forward and make change.
Well, they even talked about in Cartoon Brew. They said, Looney Tunes. They released some, some of their cartoons, which were pretty racy. There were actually some that I think have been like permabanned, from back in the day. But a lot of them, they release them with disclaimers. Disney does this too. They do it in their the Platinum collections, DVD collections. They had a lot of wartime shorts, and they had the disclaimer. I think as long as people know, and but the thing is we're talking about Disney that censors movies that came out like 10 years ago, like Lilo and Stitch. Why would we have to take out a damn washing machine?
Well, I get why. I mean, that's another one I see both sides, because you don't want kids seeing that and be like, I'm gonna go hide in the washing machine.
Well, just put a PSA up at the beginning. Hey kids, Lilo hides in the washing machine. Don't do this because you might die. True story. We're gonna take a side trip here. My grandmother almost lost her arm because of a washing machine mishap when she was 4. Now, we're talking old-timey-wimey washing machines, but she got her brothers actually stuck her arm in the washing machine and turned it on, thinking it was funny, and it almost tore her arm off, and they wanted to amputate her arm, but her mom wouldn't let her amputate her arm. Now her arm works just fine.
Right, and that was how many years ago?
That was back in the 40s.
Like a lot of this stuff, I truly get both sides of the argument, and I can't tell you what the answer is because I don't know. But I also know that pretending things didn't happen doesn't fix things either.
Well, that's what Twitter is doing. This is the problem with it. This is why these studios need to stop listening to Twitter, because we have a lot of very young reactionary.
Well, I don't want to ever be taught about World War II because it makes me upset.
That is the mindset.
And it's like, but that happened. I'm sorry, it makes me upset too. I have relatives, well, they've passed obviously, who cleaned out concentration camps and would never speak of it because it was so traumatic and horrifying to them. They would never talk about it. Trust me, I know. But it's like by not talking about it, though, and not making sure people learn about the problems and why it's wrong, people are just going to be like, well, I've got a great idea. Let's start eradicating people based on religion, or eradicating people based on race or whatever. And it's going to happen again because people aren't taught about it and taught it was wrong.
It's happening in some form on Twitter now, where any kind of wrong thought, according to the mob mentality.
And it depends who you talk to, because some people think it's wrong. Other people, you know what I mean? Like, one person might be like, well, that wasn't bad, and then other people might be, that's terrible.
Yeah, so Twitter,
it's just dumb.
Twitter is canceling everything, and these studios need to realize Twitter is a very, literally, you talk about a vocal minority. They constitute less than 1%, I think, of most of America. They're not speaking for the vast majority of people.
I'm to a place where I'm just ready to shut it down.
I'm seriously getting there too. I'm actually getting
there. Because it's just so ridiculous anymore. It's not even worth the time or the aggravation. And even if people had valid points. We're going to talk about this in another video, but even if people had valid points, the way they're presenting their points is done in such a toxic way that no one's listening to anybody else. There's no conversations anymore. It's just, I'm going to yell my opinions at you, you yell your opinions at me, and nothing ever changes, even if there's something to be learned from it, because no one will listen or give an inch or anything, and it's dumb. But back to this, the Splash Mountain. So Splash Mountain has been around since, 90?
Well, it was in Disneyland in the 80s.
Okay, was it late? Yeah. It was late 80s, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like 88 or 89.
Yeah, it was, and then it was Walt Disney World later.
Yeah.
It is. I remember thinking then, I thought it was odd they based it on Song of the South.
There was controversy about that, and how they kind of sidestepped it, because they had just run Song of the South, limited theatrical run a couple years before, and how they sidestepped the Uncle Remus connection was they took Uncle Remus, the character of Uncle Remus, out and replaced him with Brer Frog. So it was all animals, no humans. Right. It was basically just the stories that he had transcribed that he had heard. Right.
So okay. So they did that. So they made sure there was nothing in it that was other than the animal stories, which were based on folktales in the attraction.
Fictional.
But, it's been around for years, and it's off and on it's come up in conversation about. But most people, they get mad about Song of the South. They don't say much about Splash Mountain. Well, now it's terrible. So now it should be replaced with either Princess and the Frog, Pocahontas, which I'm like, that's another problematic one they have about, or Moana, which is another one that there was a bunch of controversy around.
It doesn't matter look, and here's the thing. Disney, this comes up every once in a while. And I think Disney tries to bury the Song of the South connection, but they usually back down. The thing is Disney anymore? I don't know if they will.
They're not gonna. They're gonna totally go. They're gonna change it. They're gonna shut it down or change it.
Because this happened, and this was a huge deal for a lot of people, where they took the wench auction out of Pirates of the Caribbean. Now, people say it wasn't that big of a deal. It wasn't that big of a change. And I agree. It doesn't destroy the ride or anything. But basically, it showed that Disney catered to a very vocal minority. How minor or how much of a minority? It wasn't even the general public asking for this change. It was an internal group of feminists who said it was problematic.
And you know what? Here's the kicker about the thing. What they changed the most in this whole thing was the redhead. And as a female redhead, I was never offended by it. Because historically speaking, I understood it was like a look at history, and historically speaking, they would plunder and auction people off and do this stuff. And as crappy as it was, I understood that it was based on what happened in the past, and it was just an attraction. But like I said, the person who should be offended the most, would have been me.
Yeah,
that actually represents me completely, and I was not offended.
You were not offended.
The people who spoke for me decided it was offensive.
You were not offended that they were literally selling people who look like you at
auction. Because I knew it happened.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's condoning it. Now, here's the thing. Disney almost always has an ulterior motive. This change, immediately we're like, oh.
Yeah, we did. We called this right away.
We know what's going on here, because they're not going to spend money unless they're going to make money. They're looking, because at the time, this was kind of the peak of Johnny Depp being problematic.
Yep.
They're looking for another character to replace Captain Jack, so they turned Red, who was selling a lot of merchandise, because a lot of people love...
They want the redhead.
They love the redhead, all kinds of pins and merchandise or whatever. They turned her into a pirate.
Right, notice they didn't turn anybody else in the auction into a pirate.
No.
Just her.
Right. So we were immediately, and God, we got people calling us out on that. It's like, no.
Always get caught up.
Disney didn't do this to be good people. Disney did this because they were trying to test market, and they had actresses.
They probably had the backstory. That's what happened. Because from my understanding was they went and found people to put together for a panel to determine this. Yeah. It wasn't like people made their own panel and went to them.
Yeah,
that's
Disney,
the way it was,
They put together a group internally at Disney who said, oh my God, this is so problematic. But I really do think the motivation...
Oh, I 100% think the motivation
was we can phase out Johnny Depp and
bring in Red the Pirate.
Bring in Red the Pirate.
Right away, they had a character meet and greet with Red the Pirate, trying to promote Red the Pirate. There's been talk that they're going to make the new Pirates movie with Red the Pirate.
Yep.
It's exactly what it was done for. No question in my mind.
Again, this is activism with ulterior motivation, and this is why these companies are like they're throwing themselves, trying to look like they're activists, but really you got to look at what's going on behind the scenes. A lot of times it's like, wait a minute, you're just doing this because you're seeing dollar signs. Mm-hmm. That's what's going on. So that's our take anyway on that. But yeah, will they bend the knee? I think they will. I
100% think they will.
Yeah.
100%. And you know what they'll go with? They'll probably go with Princess and the Frog. Yeah. That's what everybody's pushing for. I doubt they'll go with Moana or Pocahontas because there was a bunch of backlash for those too. But they'll go with Princess and the Frog for no other reason than she's black.
I see.
And they're going to take the black element of Song of the South and try to turn it to a positive element for Song of the South. So that's why I think they'll use Princess and the Frog.
They've already got the riverboat in the ride. The steamboats in the ride. I mean, I could see
the alligator on there. What's his name again?
Louis.
Louis.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I think they're probably going to do it.
I mean, my daughter, Splash Mountain's her absolute favorite ride ever.
Yeah, it is.
Ever. Now, I will say, if they themed it to Princess and the Frog, she also, and she admitted, she would be fine with that. She goes, I'm actually okay with that. Because Tiana is like her favorite damn princess ever. And my daughter's white. How dare she, like Tiana. That's her favorite princess because, Tiana's not the same color as her. How dare she?
Yeah, I remember we ran into Tiana at Disney World and she was wearing her Tiana dress.
She made me pull the apron out just so she could go meet Tiana wearing the apron. I made these aprons, like a lot of little girls you see go to the parks and they wear dresses that look like princesses. I made my daughter aprons, and the reason I did aprons, this is an idea for anybody who's going to the parks, is because you could take them on and off. So if you get too hot, you can take it off and they fold right up and go right in your backpack, and they fold both small. So I made her an apron, and she had a Tiana apron because that was one of the first ones she requested was Tiana because she loves Tiana. And she saw Tiana, and she's like, Mommy, hurry, get my apron. And I pulled the apron out and put it on her because she was wearing Tiana that day. And she ran the line. She was the last kid allowed to see Tiana. She was so excited. And that Tiana was just so sweet.
Yeah,
she was just so happy. I have the pictures. She said that Tiana said she liked your dress, and she's like, "Thank you. My mom made it." And she goes, "My mama made mine too," and it was perfect. And my daughter was just so happy because I can't stress too much. She loves Tiana. Anyway,
Princess and the Frog was the first movie we went.
Yes, she went to see. The first movie she went to the theater.
It was the very first movie we took her to go see, and she was dancing on the seat, and she loved it.
I loved it. No matter how many Disney princesses come out, I mean, she loves other princesses too, but Tiana is hands down. The next one I think is Aurora, but Tiana is her favorite. And it never occurs to her that that she's different than her because of skin color, because our kids aren't like that at all.
Yeah, but the thing is it's current year. Everybody's got to overthink everything, I think. And this has come up before, because I've heard before that they were talking at one point about turning it into a Stitch ride.
Stitch would know.
Which would be freaking like a...
I can see Princess and the Frog. It makes sense.
It does.
I mean, personally, I know a lot of people are mad. They don't want anything changed. Ideally, it would stay the same, but I know it's not going to stay the same. There's no way Disney's going to... After they made such a big deal about how they're standing with the black community, even after they got called out for what they did to John Boyega on the poster that went to China, I guess they did Black Panther too. They put a mask on the character for China. They cannot back down from this. There's no way.
I forgot about Black Panther. Yeah, cover up that he's black.
If they're gonna stand. They're doing this. They're trying to prove they're doing this not just for money. They have to change it. I mean, it's going to get changed. I 100% believe it, because Disney made such a big deal about it that they're going to have to put their money where their mouth is. And I'm just telling you, I expect it to be shut down or changed.
Or they'll do like they did with the Hall of Presidents when they added Trump, and it'll just be in refurbishment limbo. That's what they do with Hall of Presidents. They're like, oh yeah, we're refurbing it.
They'll change it. Yeah. I have no doubt. I really think they'll change it.
This comes up every couple of years.
But this coming up now, this climate.
Yeah, which I mean, I'll be honest, it does probably make the most sense. I'm just like, I don't think. Well, Moana's already got something coming.
But Moana's the water feature. Everybody's already had a fit about Moana. They've already had a fit about Pocahontas for years. The one that hasn't been problematic, and it would also make sense. Like I said, you're taking something they think is racially biased against black people, and then you turn around to the positive, which is what Disney does, with a black character. That's on the positive side. That's totally what they'll do. I am 100% convinced that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, because what would happen is if they turned it into Moana or Pocahontas. Well, we'll talk about that. But if they did that, then you're going to be accused of taking a quote unquote black ride and making it another. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it's like you almost have.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
and the theming on this would fit Princess and the Frog already.
Yeah, they already. I got the damn steamship on there.
Right. The theming could definitely be it could be rethemed to Princess and the Frog, and it would fit. I'm not saying whether I agree with that or not. I'm just saying that I 100% think Disney's going to do it.
If they're going to do it, that is probably the most logical change. Everybody's going on about Pocahontas, and I love this one because this actually, I just saw a post where someone said they should replace the theme of Splash Mountain, Song of the South with a less problematic Disney movie like Pocahontas.
Yeah, there's been a lot of issues around that one too.
If they're going to do it, Princess and the Frog is about the only thing. But I love this one. Bob Chapek, every time he sees Song of the South trending, wondering if he'll have to spend money to retheme Splash Mountain.
Yep.
People didn't know Splash Mountain was themed off of Song of the South. No way. No, it's true.
They aren't realizing this.
Disney has done such a good job, I guess, of covering their tracks for the last 3 decades that nobody even realized the ride was
did
based.
Because we grew up when they were still airing it.
Yeah.
So it's just, like I said, again, I get both sides of the argument here. I truly, truly do. But I also, there is no right answer. You're gonna, no matter what Disney does, no matter what HBO does, somebody, they're gonna piss off somebody.
That's just it. And don't go by Twitter, you know, or if you're gonna release the stuff. Again, I don't think there's any problem releasing Song of the South with a disclaimer. I mean, freaking Whoopi Goldberg is like, you can do it. Just put a disclaimer.
I think conversations need to be had, but the key here is conversations.
Well, that's it.
That's the problem. On Twitter especially, there are no conversations. And I'm talking on both sides. On both extremes, there are no conversations. It's like that one clip, I don't know if you saw it, that was going around. It was like a caricature of a stereotype on both sides, where they had the one kid dressed in the Trump shirt yelling Trump, Trump, and screaming Trump, and then the one person, the other person came over with
shaved head and started
screaming at him. And it's like that. That's Twitter. That is, I mean, because
just a lot of screeching.
And then the majority of people are in the middle. The majority of people are neither extreme, even on Twitter. But Twitter's all extremist. But you know what I'm saying? There are people that are neither extreme on Twitter, and we're all just caught in the middle of these people screaming at each other. And there is no conversation because it's just a matter. There's no listening. Everybody's busy screaming. So there's no way to win on any of this because there will be no conversation.
Yeah,
that's the problem, and because no matter whatever, because the media and social media have gone so far to make everything political, even when it didn't need to be, that now everything's political. So no changes can be made because everything's political.
Yeah, and that's just it. So again, studios, don't listen to Twitter. Have actual conversations with actual people because you're not going to get any meaningful dialogue at Twitter. They're just looking for something to cancel every damn day.
Right. And I mean, and I don't know about you, but I understand both points on these.
Yeah,
I do get both sides on these, and I don't know what the answer is.
I would say, look, if it were up to me, nobody cares what I think. But if I were the CEO of Disney, I would say, fine, let's retheme the Splash Mountain Princess and the Frog. Let's do a damn good job on it and make it a good attraction. And also re-release Song of the South with a disclaimer, you know, and not pretend it didn't exist. Because it actually makes it worse to pretend this did not exist.
Well, to be fair, the Splash Mountain, the reason they themed it the way they did was because the reason they went with Song of the South at all was because they were trying to be cheap.
Yes.
So
we talk about
that because there's a reason why it's Song of the South. People are like, why is it Song of the South? Why would they do that? It's because of money.
It's because of money. Here's the story. Here's the actual story of what happened with Song of the South. Yes, and good thing you mentioned, because I forgot to mention that. Yeah, they weren't planning on making a Song of the South ride. It wasn't like Imagineering sat down and said, hey, let's make Song of the South into an attraction because God knows everybody's been asking for that.
Yeah.
No, they had an attraction in Disneyland that replaced... Okay, so Carousel of Progress. Everybody knows Carousel of Progress, classic ride. They moved it from Disneyland to Disney World. So they had a vacancy in that theater. So they put America Sings, because it was the 70s, in Bicentennial, they put an attraction called America Sings, which had a bunch of singing and dancing animals.
Yes.
Well, they shut down America Sings. They had this log flume ride opening up in the 80s, and they were like, let's save some money. Let's go get all those singing and dancing animals
and set pieces and stuff.
And the set pieces and put them in this... Well, what can we do that has a lot of singing and dancing animals at that point in time?
You can't do America Sings the flume ride.
Nobody cares. It's got to be based on a movie. Song of the South. They had a lot of singing and dancing animals.
That's right.
That is why so many of the animals on that ride never appeared in the movie, because they weren't based on the movie. They were based on they came from America Sings. And now, if they retheme it, it's only going to be to save face.
Yeah, so
how ironic. So I don't know, but we're going to wrap this one up.
Yeah.
Okay, so please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, and we'll talk later.
Bye.
Hey guys, thanks for watching Clownfish TV. Please consider supporting the channel. Go to clownfishsupport.com. That's clownfishsupport.com. And if you want to join our community, go to clownfishtalk.com. That's clownfishtalk.com. Please subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. We will talk to you next time.